Lessons with Liz. That's me. Love your neighbor. Hello. Ow. Okay, don't do that again, Liz. Hello. Dumb. What am I talking about today? Oh, loving your neighbor. So last time we talked about what love is, and we talked about, the Bible's, no, we didn't talk about that last time. Right. So last time we talked about love and what love is and what love is not. And so in the Bible, it tells us that we need to do two things in order to be good Christians. We need to love God and love our neighbor as ourselves. So the first question there is, I have something in my eye. I can't see. These glasses aren't helping me to see. What are they doing? So, the first question is, who is my neighbor? Do you live on earth? Everyone who lives on earth is your neighbor. Especially those who you come in contact with and meet and are able to form a connection with. Or at least have the opportunity to form a connection with. And you might be sitting there thinking, well, that can't be right. Everybody can't be my neighbor. What if they have a different religion than me? Or if they speak a different language? Or if they're a different gender? Or they're a different race than me? Or from a different socioeconomic background? Or we have nothing in common at all? What about those people, Liz? What about them? They're not my neighbor. Yes, they are. Especially love those people who are different than you and who you don't see eye to eye with. Because that's most of the world. Surprise! Not everyone is like you. And that's okay. Here's the thing. We are supposed to be God's representation on earth. That is our job. Our job is love our God, love our neighbor as ourselves, and then walk and talk and act like God. And 1 John 4, it's an extremely important verse that no one ever pays attention to, says, "Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who knows love has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. Those who do not know love do not know God." So if you're walking around with hatred in your heart or treating other people like you're better than them, or that for some reason their existence is wrong and yours is right, that's not love. That's not acting like Christ's disciple and being a good, godly representation on earth. Everywhere Jesus went preaching and healing people, he went in love. He offered love to everybody that he met. Side note, there was one time when he got so mad that he went around flipping over tables and whipping people, but to be fair, those people were supposed to be acting as God's representations on the earth, and they weren't, and that made Jesus livid. So if you want to know what makes God mad, it's that. Just saying. Back to the video. Bam! So then, the other thing you might be saying is, well, I can't just love all of my neighbors if they're my enemies, even though the Bible says love your enemy and give them the coat off your back and help them out too. And you might be sitting there, well, what if I hate them? I don't know. Talk to God about that. I don't know how to fix that. That's bad. Story time. This notebook makes me so happy. This is my favorite notebook in the whole world. And it smells like strawberries. 2 years ago, I quit my job and I dropped everything in my life and I shoved a bunch of stuff in a backpack and threw it on my back and went off to go explore the world. Because I'm normal. So during my adventures, I saw the Roman Colosseum, and I saw the Vatican and the Sistine Chapel, and explored the ruins of Pompeii, and hiked on top of Mount Vesuvius and looked down into the hell mouth of the volcano itself. And I saw Big Ben, and I went sailing on the River Thames, and I hiked through the Highlands of Scotland, and I did a whole bunch of things, and they were absolutely amazing. And they are things that I had dreamed about since I was a kid, and some new things and things that I've never ever thought that I would do in my life, like dancing with a man named Marco in a palace on the Adriatic Sea. That was an interesting night. But what I learned, those were not the important things in life. Those were not the important things that I saw. They were all very memorable and they made for great pictures, but they weren't the most impactful things on my journey. They weren't what lasted. What I found was what the impactful and lasting things were the people that I met during my travels. One example of people I met that I wanted to talk about was people I met in Ruthwell, Scotland. And I went there because of the Ruthwell Cross. As you know, no one knows about it. On one side of the cross is engraved, it's depictions of Christ and the Christ story. And on one side, it's engraved a poem called The Dream of the Rood, which means the dream of the cross. And it's engraved in Old English. And on the other side, it is engraved in Viking runes. And it's this monumental piece of artwork that symbolizes these two cultures clashing together. And nobody in the world knows about it unless you study Old English. And weirdos like me who study Old English know about it. So like 20 people in the world. But now you, ha 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 ha, you're a nerd now. Side note, Old English, to make you a double nerd, is not Shakespeare, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? No, you can understand that. Old English is what ik schreef niet kiest, which means, listen, I had a sweet dream. Completely different language than anything that we talked about now. So, double nerds, now you know some Old English, now you know the first line of The Dream of the Rood Cross, and now you're gonna go to Scotland. Bam, done. I like this power. Okay, nerds. Go see the Ruthwell Cross. Make sure to get there for a Sunday sermon. But I met this couple there, and the names were Robin and Doreen Thompson. And we're still pen pals to this day. So when I met Robin and Doreen, they're like, "What? How did you find us? Who are you? You're obviously not Scottish. What's going on here?" Because I just drifted into their church one day. And nobody does that. Do that. Go visit them. Best church ever. Forget the Vatican. Ruthwell, Scotland. So Robin and Doreen were like, "Oh, you're interested in Scottish history. Let's take you out on the town." So I just jumped in their car. Oh, don't jump in cars with strangers. So we went roaming about the countryside. So they taught me all about the First National Savings Bank of Scotland, which is extremely important. Then, when it was started, and even now, we went to a well that Bobby Burns drank from because he thought it had magical healing powers, which it didn't, because obviously he died like centuries and centuries ago. And then we went exploring castles and turrets and like ruins, and it was just amazing. Then we had tea together, and they bought me this Scottish pin that I put on my Gryffindor scarf, because I'm a nerd. Oh, and we also uncovered a grave from the 1700s. So that makes us amateur archaeologists. That was a really interesting summer. Uncovering graves, living in a convent of nuns in Sicily, Loch Ness monster hunting. And last summer, I went whitewater rafting, horseback riding with a man from Sweden, and cave diving with my best friend and crawling around inside the Earth's crust. And this summer is the summer of the plague. You never know what to expect. So, the moral of the story is the beauty of the world is found in its people, not in the things that we build, even though things like the Colosseum, and even things like Big Ben last for centuries, and they are gifts that we build and create for future generations, and they are great accomplishments, but that's not what's important here and now in this world today. What's important and what's beautiful in the world is the people that you meet and that you interact with and that you extend loving relationships with. And if you walk around with blinders on your entire life saying, "Oh, well, those people over there don't look like me, and they don't think like me, and they don't act like me, and they don't talk like me, and they don't believe the same things that I believe," then you will never see the beauty of the world. So, take off your blinders, take off your inhibitions, take off your pride, and extend an opportunity of love. So I hope you learned something. I love you, and I miss you. And until next time, goodbye.